Good evening, guys. Welcome to the show. Welcome to It's Not an Orbit, It's Dust with myself, Peter N. And the lovely Cathy and the lovely Lynda and the wonderful Trevor. How's that?
Not lovely too? Jeez.
No, just wonderful.
You're the prettiest one of all.
Yes, I am. Thank you. So, how's everyone been?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Not too bad. It's been a busy week. Had an investigation yesterday during the day, which was very kind of sensitive, but emotionally as well. Sometimes we do investigations that give you a kind of a sudden reality that you're not immortal, and it kind of took it home yesterday with the investigation we did during the day. Beautiful property in the middle of rural British Columbia. It was like there was about 10 acres of land and like a little farmhouse and stuff like that, and surrounded by a huge ranch, like it's the biggest ranch in BC actually. So I'm kind of narrowing it down where we were yesterday, but it was good. And then so then Friday as well, we did some recordings for the new show, which was good as well, and looking forward to this week. This week we're off to Thursday. We're going to SS Sycamus for an investigation, which is a historic ship of BC where it was used to transport soldiers during the Second World War, and there's a load of other heritage boats there as well. Lots of sightings apparently. So we're doing some fundraising for them as well, and then so it's good.
Yeah, the entire gang is here tonight. So yeah, it's one of those days. It's actually it would have been my mom's birthday today, so she just passed away like a year and a half ago. So that's a little hard, but we're doing okay. Yeah, we're doing okay. It's been a pretty quiet day, so been a good week, and getting ready. I'm going away at the end of March, going to Disney World and going to Florida. So I'm actually kind of excited. It's been a while since I flew internationally.
You're not on the no-fly list, are you?
No. I hope not. We'll find out.
Goodness for that.
I think I'm safe.
Thank goodness.
But what's that?
Thank goodness.
Yeah. My son's never been on a plane, so that'll be interesting.
Oh.
And I think it's like oh my God, we have like a 4-hour layover in Denver, which will be interesting. And so we fly at 9 a.m. here, and we don't get into Florida until like midnight.
Wow.
So we got a long trip ahead of us, and the way back too. It's the same thing on the way back. So
Lots of bonding time.
Yes, yeah, you're going to be in a right good state to see Mickey for the first time. Hi, Mickey.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh, Cody says Denver's interesting. I hope that's a good interesting.
Yeah.
I hope so too.
I heard Denver Airport is quite large. So it was either that or Toronto. And I was like, I don't want to go to the Pearson Airport. Like, no, I'd rather at least try.
Worst airport in the world in the States is Los Angeles, by a shadow of a doubt. Minimal signage, huge airport, like no signage. They put, your transfer flight is the other side of the freaking airport, where the number doesn't even exist until you actually get to it. It was just absolutely horrendous. I went there twice as a stopover going back to the UK. It just banged my head up against the wall. I ended up losing my flight once and ended up sleeping there as well.
This is why I don't travel. I just stay home.
Well,
frustration.
Will come to you.
That's why we're driving down to see you in April. I'm not going to fly, that's for sure.
That's going to be awesome. So
looking forward to that. So how's your week been, Trev?
Oh, we've been doing great. So the team's been doing good. We've, it's kind of our slower season, slower time right now, but we just wrapped up an investigation this last week, and I think we're about done through the evidence on that. Getting ready to post that on our website so everybody can check that out. Aside from that, yeah, just staying busy and enjoying life. But I kind of was thinking about a little about what you said, Peter, and it kind of ties into Kathy's too. My mom died almost a year ago this month or next month. And in your investigation, talk about, we're not immortal, right? But a lot of what we do, and it's kind of interesting, is we are in it to prove that there's still something after we die, something another plane of existence, or some sort of continuation. So while we're not immortal, it doesn't appear to end. So
it's like with the kind of, without us dwelling too much into another topic for the show, but it's funny, like over the years you do various investigations and you never you know that there's something on the other side, but you never quite put pieces of the puzzle together to know that person is there for that, that loved one who wants it to be their Uncle Fred. We don't always know. We try and put two and two together, and like a lot of times we assume it's four, but a lot of times we're totally off track because it's someone that comes forward that's completely not even not, they don't even know who that person is, and that's unfortunate. But it does give us hope that we do carry on after. But I wouldn't want to be stuck in a house with complete strangers, that's for sure. I'd want to surround myself, if I did come back, which I don't want to, I'd want to surround myself with like family and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, Mr. Doom and Gloomish, Jesus.
No, there's no gloom there. I mean, it's all fascinating. Like I said, we could definitely dive into this, do a different show for sure.
Yeah.
So.
We could. Well, this week, though, it really hit home, too. I mean, it's funny how we're all talking about the same topic, and then I'll shut up. But my assistant director and her husband, they're battling illness. They're battling cancer. And so, I keep telling everyone, just remember, that we aren't immortal. We'd like to be, but, it's so hard when it hits so close to home. So we've been sending them a lot of love, and they've been going and doing, the chemo and radiation, and it's just.
Did they both have cancer?
Or? No, her husband has cancer, and they just got married in October. So this is like a major blow, and it's just so sad. So we're sending them as much love and support as we possibly can. So it's been a really tough go, and it happened really suddenly. So yeah. So Sherry and Rick, we're thinking about you.
Yeah, that's
absolutely.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. So this show. What's that?
Nothing. I thought we got hacked for a second. I see the because it's under my name on the chat.
Yeah.
And it comes up Oracle Intuitions. Hello, everyone. And I'm like, the hell? Somebody hacked me. Like I was.
You double chat everyone. You say everything twice. So
I know.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So this week's show, we decided again, no new guests this week, so we decided to have a kind of a four-way chat in relation to various different topics and subjects and stuff like that. And then this week we decided to discuss some of our most scariest non-paranormal moments during investigations, and it put a couple of our hosts to kind of a bit scratching their head a bit. So they're hoping if I speak first or Trevor speaks first, they might gain some momentum. So I'm going to hand the mic to Kathy. So no. No,
these are all inside jokes. This all happened before the show. That's why we're laughing.
I know.
Yeah.
Everybody knows.
Okay. I'm gonna start my the very first one. So this was about 12, 13 years ago when I was living down the Lower Mainland, and I think I stroked upon it before. But anyway, there was was a residential case in East Vancouver, and it was typical run of the mill kind of thing where she phoned up and she seemed perfectly normal on the phone. I was talking through what was going on. She said, things are being moved around, shadows, and so I screened her and she seemed okay. And then she said that her sister's going to be in when I get there because she has to work late, because I think she said she works at a hospital or something like that. So anyway, we go down there, and there's me and 2 other investigators, and we drive all the way down. It takes me well over an hour to get there, and so we get to the house, and we knock on the door, and it's quite an old house in Vancouver, and knock on the door, and this eldish kind of lady answers the door, and said, I announced who we were and what we were doing and stuff like that. She was very polite. She said, "Oh, come in, please come in." So we go in there, and she starts chatting to us about, how much she likes the TV shows and stuff like that. It's like, okay, so I said, like, is there somewhere we can set up, and then we can start with some kind of dialogue about what you've seen as well. So she's like, yeah, okay. So anyway, she said, go into the front room. So we went into the front room, and I start, put the camera together and stuff like that. And then we're ready to go, and she just disappears. And it was just like, well, where is she? And I couldn't remember her name or anything like that. So I'm going, hello, like that. And so I walk up the stairs, and it was a weird setup because the dining room was downstairs, but the kitchen was upstairs. So I walk upstairs, and I'm like, hello. So I walk upstairs, and she's just standing there in the kitchen, and she's got her hands over the sink, and she's looking out the window, and she says, and she just turned around and said, there's what is it? There's bugs that keep coming in here as well, and they're just driving me mad. And she goes, the only way that we can get rid of these bugs is by turning the power off in here. And she was like, oh, I was like, oh, really? Like that. And I was like, kind of a bit standoffish. And she said, yeah, can you not see them? And I'm like, no, like that. And I was like, right, okay, this is getting a bit too serious. So with that, she goes, I need to turn the power off. So she pulls out a pair of scissors out of the drawer, and she goes towards she's got like a kettle, and she goes to stick the scissors over the kettle. And I grabbed her arm and went, no, please don't do that. I went, please don't do that. I goes, you'll end up killing yourself like that. And she went, get off me, like that. And then she starts waving the scissors at me.
Oh, my.
And then lo and behold, she's walking backwards like that. And then I took a step back. And I said, look, madam, can you put the scissors down? I'm kind of feeling threatened now and stuff like that. She goes, I want you to get out of my house. So I've taken a step back, and she started walking towards me with these scissors and stuff like that. So I've walked down the stairs, and at the bottom of the stairs there was a door. So I shut the door shut, and I put my foot down, and I said to the guys, look, I said, grab all my shit, grab my stuff, and then just get out. So I'm standing there, and she's banging on the door, let me out of here, let me out of here. And then they managed to get all the stuff out onto the sidewalk and stuff like that. So I was like, okay. So just that I put my foot away. She burst open the door like that, and she goes, I want you out of my house. And she swipes the scissors, and it misses my face by about that much. And I just turned the door, and I shut the door. I pushed the door open, and it pushed her back. And then I walked out into the street, and I was like, fuck. And I was just like, okay, let's just get in the car and pull away and stuff like that. And then went home, didn't sleep that night and stuff like that. Next day, I phoned a woman up, the woman who was working, and she said, yeah, she goes, oh, she was all apologetic and stuff like that. She said that it was a sister, I think it was sister or something like that. She's got mental health issues, and she's got like a bipolar, and she had like various other things like PTSD, and she's been diagnosed with multiple amount of things, but she didn't take a medication when we arrived. I was like, oh, that explained it. But yeah, that was one. There's a few.
That plays right into the whole thing about, we talk about the different types of people that call us, want us to come in and help, and how we can explain away most of it, but it seems like, like 40% are over medicated, 40% are under medicated,
Yeah.
30% need to take medications. It's
funny.
it's scary stuff. I mean, nothing scares me more than the living. That's for sure.
No, not at all. I was very fortunate. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of a famous parapsychologist called Peter Underwood.
Yes.
You probably have done. So about 24, 25 years ago, I met Peter Underwood. It was like a psychic seminar that was in London, and he was up on the stage and he was talking and stuff like that, and he said that his biggest scare in this field is not. He said it's not the dead. He said it's the living. And he goes 90% of the time. No, sorry. He said 80% of the time it's the people that want to be ghost hunters. Paranormal investigators. 20% of the time it's the actual clients themselves. He said because they're all freaking nuts, and that's it. Which is true. Like he just nailed it, and it's like that. That is the scariest element of what we do. And you think, the multiple cases that all four of us, like the residential cases we've had over the years. Between if you combine all four of us together and our teams and our teams and all our other teams we've associated with stuff like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, I'm surprised there hasn't been more fatalities where because we don't know, do we? Like you try and screen these people and you walk into places and you don't really know what they're like because you talk to them on the phone and you get a kind of they sound okay, and you put a lot of trust in that, and it's split 50-50 because they have to think that you're not going to go into the house and ransack the house and steal their TV and stuff like that. But it's a weird world, man. Weird.
God.
Yeah. How about you, Lynda?
That was scary, Peter. Like my God. What's going on with my microphone? Hold on. Oh, that might be better. We'll see. Okay, so I'm terrified of animals too. Like we're talking wildlife here because I'm up here in the country, as you know. So we had gone, my assistant director and I at the time had gone up to a cemetery in Sutton. And we thought, well, we'll just kind of wander around. But there were reports of bears in the area. We get black bears quite often up in Sutton and Pefferlaw area. Anyway, sure enough, we go to the cemetery. And honestly, we just knew that there was something there and it was big. And I'm sure it was a bear. I didn't stick around. We just kind of hightailed it out of there and said, well, let's do it again another night. But that was one. And then
Sasquatch.
Sorry?
What if it was Sasquatch?
Oh, no. It was definitely a bear. And another time we went to another cemetery to check it out in the summertime. And as the evening progressed, we could hear those lovely wolves. And we knew they were getting closer. And again, you've just got to be really careful of the wildlife. So, again, it was like, okay, well, do we stay or do we go? And we thought, no, we're getting out of here. You have to be really aware of your surroundings. So either you're, afraid or wary of people or wildlife. And if you live in the country like I do, you've got to be really careful about where you are and your surroundings, especially when you're outside. So we've had a couple of close scares. My biggest was in 2017, we went to Picton to, an old army base, which was then a hospital and derelict. And we were warned that there may be wildlife somewhere in the building. Well, on the second floor in one of the buildings, it was bats. So that scared the crap out of me because we're walking around and out of nowhere, these bats started swooping down towards our heads. And I thought, okay, this is not right. I mean, it's a paranormal investigation. That scared the crap out of me because I kept thinking, okay, I'm going to get rabies or I'm going to get guano all over me. And I don't want either of them. So, but with me, it's been the wildlife. Like I've encountered skunks in the backyard of a residential place. Like that wasn't a pleasant experience.
The
And then
mystery odor.
Yeah.
it's with me, it's been things like that. But yeah, never crazy people with scissors. I mean, thankfully. But you don't want a skunk either.
No.
No.
We've encountered bats in the cemeteries before, like
Oh.
taking people on a walk and stuff. Okay, look at my hair. This is not. This is bat friendly hair. This is like I'm going to get into that hair, and I'm gonna look like Trevor and Peter after. Like it's
Right?
never coming out of this hair.
What? Wait a minute. What do I look like? I have hair. I just
Oh my God.
prefer to wear a hat.
It'll be a lot shorter. That's what it would be like on me. For
Yeah,
sure.
it's funny because like we used to help out with the public investigations out at the old Idaho Penitentiary, and back in Siberia, the little location called Siberia, it's a solitary prison area. There was a resident bat. I mean, it was always in one of those rooms back there, and I never would tell anybody because I wanted to have the joy and the experience of having the crap scared out of them by a little bat. And it worked like a charm every time. They'd walk into that room, and that thing would swoop right down at them, and they'd all come out. Oh, it was great. This is it was perfect. So a little excitement to an otherwise boring night, right? So,
Right.
What about you, Trevor? Do you have any stories?
Yeah, I can come up with something, I'm sure. So I can tell you that I personally have never been genuinely frightened on an investigation. There's not, I mean, ghosts certainly haven't been scary for me, and but we have had a couple of experiences. One I wasn't there for. It was with when I was running this team, and we had an investigation out in the boonies, and I think it might have been our second time out there, and or I can't remember, first or second time. Anyway, I get a call. Or I think I found out after the investigation. They're like, yeah, well, this happened. And I'm like, okay, what's going on? And they were getting ready to do the investigation. They were kind of going around through the house with the homeowner and things like that. Well, being in the boonies, he had a rifle that was sitting out. He said, oh, I'm going to put this away. He picked up the rifle and he moved it. The gun went off inside the house and put a hole through the wall. And so it's like, well, did anybody get shot? And they're like, no. I said, did any of our equipment get hit? And they're like, no. But I mean, so weird things can happen. But I think there was a time where I was involved. We had another public investigation at the Geyser Grand Hotel. And the way the guys are set up, the way we did our public investigation, we break into small groups and we move around to different locations in the hotel so that each group can have a relatively quiet, private investigation. And then we just kind of rotate around the different rooms. And I was in the dining room with my group, and the other group was supposed to be back across the hotel in the ballroom. Well, for whatever reason, Mike, I don't know if he's watching tonight or not, but he decided he took his guests into the kitchen, which wraps around right over to the dining room. And the only thing that was separating my group from his group was a curtain. And Mike has one of these voices that just projects. He is very well spoken, but I mean, he is very loud when he talks. And he was talking a lot. And my group was just sitting there being quiet, looking at each other. And Mike walks over to the into the kitchen, and he's talking about, hey, make some noise, rattle a pan or whatever. And I'm walking over there to tell him to be quiet and go back to his side of the building. Well, as soon as I get there, before I go through the curtain, he goes, if you can hear me, knock 3 times really loud. So I thought, okay. And he goes, what the fuck? I mean, he just hits the floor and just starts screaming. His guests were going nuts, And he's like, that had to have been somebody. And I opened the curtain. I said, yeah. I said, go back to your side of the hotel. So.
That's too funny. We haven't had, we didn't have, I didn't think we actually had any, to be honest. I was trying to remember, like, was there any time that we were really scared or whatever. There was another time after there was something else after this story, which I'll tell next round, I think. But this, it was scary, for that second at a time. And then you end up in bursts of laughter that you can't control for like a good 15 minutes, where you're just like laughing so hard, you're crying and, whatever. But so we were doing, we were in this bedroom, we were doing the investigation. We had 2 or 3 K2 meters out in different areas. And, we would say, come forward and see if you can light it up. And, the whole typical K2 meter thing. This is one of our first investigations, so no judging, be nice. But anyway, there was times you can see Peter's face. He's like, but there was a few times where the lights would go on. Okay. So, whatever was what it was. Anyway, it was really quiet, and we were just sort of sitting there, whatever, and waiting to see if any of the lights would twinkle and shine. And I said, okay, so, what are you? Are you this? Are you a person? Are you this? Can you give us your name? Blah, blah, blah. No response whatsoever. Nothing. It was dead quiet. Like no lights were going off, nothing. So then I said, are you a demon? All of a sudden, all 3 freaking K2 meters just went. And we're like, but there's also the walkie-talkie, which all of a sudden was like, with right at this like perfect timing. You haven't seen. I was like on the ceiling like a freaking cat. Hey, because it just was so perfect in the timing. Like literally, as soon as you said, "Are you a demon?" Point, I'm like up there. And the investigator I was with was laughing so hard, I think he fell off the bed and he was rolling, like he was just laughing. And of course, everybody, downstairs could hear us. They come up and you're trying to explain it to them, but you're just laughing. I think it was like a laughing fit for a good 10-15 minutes. Like I just cannot stop. I was just, but shaking at the same time. So that was one of ours. It was funny.
Fantastic. Timing is everything.
Right?
You had that experience, like anytime like you ask a question, like make a noise, some noise goes off that is nothing paranormal. A car drives by, or somebody shuts a door, or something. It's like timing. In our team, we have one of our team members. Every time we ask for a noise, his stomach growls.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. It's like it's a trigger for him, I guess. And we've decided his stomach is haunted, but yeah. So.
Oh, Cody, we were with you, were we not? With this?
Yeah,
one?
that
was in Washington.
Fort Walden in Washington.
That was in Washington.
We were talking about that the other day, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we actually talked about that in a different show. He has an unhealthy fear of aliens. And, we were walking to one of the buildings at night, and I don't know what. I mean, it was just dark. We were just walking. We weren't talking about aliens. We weren't doing any of that stuff. But somebody had a green laser grid pen, and they lit it up into the trees, and it just lit up this green lights into the trees everywhere. And immediately Cody hits the ground, and he kind of looked like one of those cartoon characters trying to get traction with his feet, just kicking up dirt and dust behind him, and he was gone. And we were like, what just happened? So he thought the aliens were coming to get him. So,
I guess if I go. So it's about 1994 or 5, and I was 16 or 17, and I think I mentioned this on the show before, way back at the beginning, and it was the second investigation I did ever, and we was on this rural abandoned cottage in the middle of Kent in England, and it's like middle of complete nowhere. And but obviously back then I just a tape recorder and the microphone and stuff like that. And I got really worked up before these investigations because the suspense, and I just thought that how it is when you first go investigate, you expect everything to happen and stuff like that. And I actually made myself sick, like, because I was just so worked up during the investigation. But there was we did this abandoned cottage, and there was me and one of the other guys that was with me as well. And it was about 2-3 o'clock in the morning, and nothing was happening in this place whatsoever. And I was like, so I start getting restless. I'm walking around, and there's like floorboards down. There's windows with like not smashed windows, but some of the paint had been removed and stuff like that. Some people stole the lead around the roof, around the window frames and stuff like that. So it was like semi-open, and the wind was blowing through. So I'm like, in the back of my mind, I was just like, I'm really getting like tired now. I just want to go home. So the other guy turns around and says, "Come on, let's give it another hour, and then we can hit the road." I was like, "Oh, great." So I start asking questions, and I'm standing at the window, and I'm looking at the window. I'm not looking around me or anything like that. And it's just the same generic questions like, "Is there anyone there? Can you please give us a sign of your presence?" Something along the lines of that. And there was a silence, and then there was a silence. And sometimes your brain starts drifting off when you're really tired, and you suddenly realise you haven't said anything for a little while, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere, hello, like that, and I'm like, and I froze, and I like honestly, because I froze and I couldn't like move at that time, and I'm like, "Did you hear that?" And the guy that was with me was like, yeah, I can. I was like, is there anything you'd like to say? And I'm like, I'm ice cold by then, and I'm like really like I'm in a mess. And he was like, "Is there anything you want to say?" And there was like silence. It's like, "Who is this?" And it was just and it's like, and it was like, "Oh, my name is Peter." And this went on, and it was like a delayed response is like then all of a sudden, like, it was like, "Yeah," he goes, hello, like that. And it was just like, yeah, we can hear you fine. And he's like, the other guy's like fucking trying to turn his tape recorder on the record and stuff like that. Anyway, we still stumbled. Like 2 minutes later, I've heard "Peter, is that you?" And I'm like that. And he was like, "What the fuck?" And I was like, he knows my name. He's like, will you stop fucking around? And he goes, "Stop calling me." And I had one of those old cell phones, like they were called Mercury 1-to-1 phones, and they used to have like the flip, but I bought the one that didn't have the flip on it whatsoever. And you had to push like 20 keys for like to do key lock and stuff like that. And I was dialing home, and I was like, my dad was picking the phone up, and he kept putting the phone down, but for some reason I kept dialing. And like, "Fuck's sake, Peter!" We laughed about that until he passed away. It was like hilarious. It was like 2-3 o'clock in the morning, and I just kept dialing him over and over again.
Oh no! Funny.
Before we had caller ID as well, so it was even better. It's just like a complete stranger with just silence at the end of dead air at the end of the line. Oh
my God, that's
it was classic moment. It was like, "Hello," but it's like that muffled sounded. Of course, it was like it sounded even more muffled because it was in my pocket. But
Oh my God, these things always happen when you're expecting something big to happen, right?
I'll be honest with you, that back then when that happened, because of the mood, because I was so soaked up in that investigation, and there was like 2 or 3 of them, and then eventually I learned to calm down. But because I was so emotionally attached to that investigation, I was honestly freaking scared. And like people, when people say to you, "Oh, tell us about your most scariest moment," and that's what Trevor alluded to earlier on. I get like a buzz when I see something and I witness something that's paranormal, like my adrenaline kicks in and stuff like that. But that is probably one of the only few times I've been honestly scared at that time, because it was that moment where it was just like, "Hello," and then when he called my name out as well, my dad called my name out, "Hey, is that you?"
I was just waiting for you to go, wait, Dad?
Oh,
What are you doing here?
You know you passed on that.
You already what?
Jesus. That's good.
Oh my God.
No.
That's great.
How about you, Lynda?
You know, it sort of triggered a memory when Peter, you were talking about the fact that, you know, when you're really involved in an investigation, especially when you're a young investigator, it's like you get so excited about going and you think everything's going to happen.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so way back when in Montreal, there are a couple of us that were kind of, you know, ingenue kind of investigators, and we were investigating this sort of abandoned home, and it had in the backyard, it had this old swing set, right? So it was abandoned. The swing set was there. We were expecting, you know, to say, all right, if you're here, could you please make the swing, one of those, right? Anyway, you're young. What do you know? What happened was, I mean, this thing was so bloody rusted. The thing was completely rusted out, and we were all like expecting this amazing thing to happen. So we're standing there and we're talking in the playground, and people had said, oh, well, there's ghosts of little children there. So we're saying, right, if there's somebody here and there's a little child, could you do something? Could you make a noise? Well, the bloody rusted swing set was swing completely fell, and they just picked that moment to fall. And there's like four of us going, ah, and running as far as we could, going, oh my God. But realizing, of course, this thing just picked that moment to fall because it'd probably been rusted out for the past 40 years. It was hilarious.
That's awesome. Timing
Oh
is
my
everything.
God. It is. Timing is everything.
It's amazing.
Timing is everything.
It is.
Very-
Yeah,
Dude,
well,
run. Cody
Dude,
just
run!
we'd
Yeah,
run. Oh my
that's so
God.
good.
That was funny. But you know, the thing is, it took us about like half an hour to kind of get up the gumption, you know, to go back. And we all kind of looked at each other and said, oh my God, it's not paranormal, you moron. It's probably just been waiting to fall, but you know, it picked the right moment.
Oh,
Well,
who knows?
maybe it was
Maybe a
little
ghost.
bunch of ghost kids that pushed it over.
Yeah, maybe a ghost jumped on the swing and it couldn't hold the weight, and down it went.
Yeah, no.
So,
Yeah, no. No.
and then the ghost is standing there going, "Man, they asked us to move the swing set. Why'd they run away?"
Yeah. Look at those morons. That was so funny. Oh my God.
Oh God.
That's great.
Trevor.
Well, alluding back, because we kind of talked a little bit about parents and your dad coming in on the phone there, and this actually is a continuation of the story with Mike that I told the first time. This is a complete. I mean, fast forward several months, maybe even a year or two, and my parents had come down to experience what I do. So I'm like, oh, cool. We're going to go. They did 2 investigations. They went to the old Idaho Pen on night 1, and we were doing the Geyser Grand on night 2. 2 really cool locations. The Geyser Grand, I mean, we got a lot of great evidence that I had some really cool experiences. So I had some pretty high hopes, and I was talking it up. And of course, that night, nothing. It was flatlined. I mean, it was one of the quietest investigations that I've ever been on. My parents were bored to death. We've been out, I had a couple other people with us, and I mean, we had been investigating for hours, and it was probably 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm falling asleep. Even this is how bad it is. I mean, it's like, I'm just so bored. I mean, nothing is going on. The heater was on. We were in the ballroom getting ready to wrap up the investigation. And so the ballroom, the way that it's situated, there's these double doors at the back of the room that go straight into the kitchen, those double swing doors that, you just put, there's no latch on them. And the kitchen connects all the way to the other side of the hotel. Anyway, we're sitting there and we keep hearing a sound that seems to be coming from the kitchen. I don't think it was paranormal. It was something mechanical, but, I just kept saying, hey, if you're there, come through the doors, come talk to us, let us know you're here, and this, we probably spent 10 minutes trying to coax whatever this was if anything to come through the doors. So I finally said, look, just, we're going to take off. So just take all your energy and just focus it on those doors. Just push those doors open. Those doors came flying open with force. I mean, just come blowing open. I about fell out of my chair because now I'm awake. And it was Mike. Mike just busts through the doors because he heard me say the same thing. And he's like, ha, payback. So we were dying at that point. So it was like, yeah, it was pretty funny. So,
oh my God.
Yeah, he's old, but he has a good memory.
Mike's great.
Is Mike watching tonight?
I don't know.
He normally does. He normally pops in every now and again.
Yeah, usually he pops in. So, but yeah, it's great. We have a good time every once in a while. So, we have a good time all the time, and most of the time we don't screw around with each other. But every once in a while, you just can't help it. So,
That's true.
Well, we had, I guess this is, I don't know if it was scary. It was uneasy. I suppose this is the best way to put it. It was it was probably, actually, it might have been my first investigation. And I don't even know if I was like actually on the team at this point. They were sort of testing me, seeing how I could handle things or whatever they were doing. And we went to this house and I knew nothing about it. And so we're just sort of sitting there. And, this was at the very early stages of this particular team. And a lot of the members from that particular incident didn't stay as part of the team. Like, we didn't do preliminary investigation. We didn't do forms, nothing. So we were pretty much walking in blind. They might have known a little bit about it, but we had some issues at the beginning. You put it that way with this particular, team. Anyway, so we get there and apparently they're having issues in the basement and there's things that are falling all over the place and whatever. So we were sitting on the couch just chatting. Well, the weirdest freaking thing is that I actually saw like a spirit come through. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking and you could, I guess one of the investigators noticed that I was sort of like paying attention to this and says, what do you see? And I said, well, there's this guy, and I described him. And the client was like, well, that's my uncle. That's my uncle who you just described. And I was like, shit. And they're all like, shit. And I'm like, okay, that's cool, right? But, and they had an indigenous background, and so what I saw was very, indigenous dress. And apparently the uncle used to, do a lot of ceremonial dances and stuff like that, right? And anyway, so we thought, okay, well, this could be an interesting investigation. Well, all of a sudden the kid starts just going like, I don't know, talking to himself. He's like going a little bit crazy, I guess is the best. Can we use that word? I don't even know if that's politically correct anymore, but the kid was going a little bit crazy. Like it was getting a little bit, you're kind of like, what's going on here? And, then we find out, from his dad that he didn't take his medication, very similar to what Peter had said. So anyway, we decided we were going to go in the basement because they insisted. They were like, oh no, we've got something in the basement. And I was like, well, I mean, here's the thing is we know already kind of that they are haunted. We had a validation of it, but, do we actually investigate? So we go downstairs. Well, holy crap. There's dead animals like wolf skin and shit hanging from the basement. But on top of that, they had boards everywhere with nails out of them. What? And I was like, what in the hell is like, I was like, are you guys carpenters? No, that's to catch the spirits or I don't know. Like it wasn't like an indigenous thing in any way. They just invented this contraption of nails and thought, well, if we catch him in this box, he can't go anywhere. And there's nails I was just like, oh my goodness. And so, the lead investigator at this point was like, well, we would have to move all of those if we were going to investigate, because obviously that's very dangerous. And if somebody tripped, they'd end up on literally like a bed of nails, and plus the skins, like we could walk into them and we could trip and, all of this. They refused to take any of them down. They just refused to take any of them down. They were like, no, you have to investigate like this. Like, no, this is what keeps us safe from the spirit. And we were like, okay, well, we're not really scared, but it was like very uneasy. The whole thing was very uneasy. By the time you leave, you're just like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. Like, is everything going to be like, is every investigation going to be like this? And yeah, I mean, obviously I stuck around, but yeah, if some days you wonder if that was the smartest idea.
You bring up a great point, though. I mean, and Cody, who's watching, kind of alluded to the, why you do the pre-investigation interview and stuff.
Yeah.
And what I've started doing was I will go out to the client's house or to the building the week of the investigation, but not the day of. So I'll go out there, usually, hopefully not alone, but whatever. And I'll go and meet the clients in person. I'll be able to take a look at the house and things like that to see, I mean, maybe they're hoarders, or if it's super filthy and there's, health hazards and things like that, or nails with boards with nails sticking out of them and things like that, that can be addressed then.
Yeah.
And that saves them the embarrassment of us just packing up all our stuff and leaving. And I don't bring my entire crew into that situation as well. So, I started doing this after the gun incident, because, being able to walk through a house, say, hey, you got a gun right there. Do you think we could, put that somewhere safe? I don't want, us to knock it over, and in that case, no, I don't want to move my gun. Okay, cool. No problem. Hey, you do you, but we're not going to investigate here. So just
you knock over that gun and then you do have a ghost running around, right?
Exactly. So, and if I feel like it's an unsafe investigation, I won't put my team members in there. So
yeah, we had a 10-page preliminary, and I mean, it went into, what kind of medication somebody was on, the whole bit, and if worst case scenario, if we felt that there was just some people, that it's a mental problem, and you're not going to say to them, look, you've obviously got a mental illness. We're not going to investigate, right? We're not going to be that mean. But what we would do is say, we need a doctor's note from your physician saying that it would be okay for us to do a paranormal investigation, and it needs to be in those words, because chances are, A, they're not going to go to their doctor. B, the doctor's probably going to look at them like, I'm not writing that.
Time to adjust the medications. Okay.
Yeah. So it kind of took the responsibility, I guess, off of us. It gave it back to the client, and they could do with it what they wanted. And, we even gave them lists of other teams that, if they want to check them out or whatever, they could do that. But it was out of our hands. Like, that was the way.
And that's great. We do something very similar, and we have that same type of interview where we'll dive into medical history and, familial family history and things like that, family relationships, to try to, because a lot of paranormal activity or perceived paranormal activity is things like that. There's other things going on, and the thing that I stress to people too, that even though it might be a mental issue, somebody's having a schizophrenic episode or whatever, they're still experiencing something. And maybe it's not paranormal, but if we could recognize that and make some recommendations, like, hey, before we do this, why don't we get a doctor's note? Get them in to see a physician or something like that. If we can convince them to, that might just take care of their problem right there. If the physician's where they can adjust some things.
Well, and it gives their physician also an opportunity to see them if they do decide that they're going to pursue it, right? Like, they have that. And I mean, hopefully they don't go to a Medi Center where, they'll just write out anything for $40. Okay, pay me $40. I'll print you out whatever you need. But, Yeah,
It's a bit of a balancing act though when you've got a client that's on medication, because we're not doctors, and we certainly can't judge on people's mental health to that point where it's automatically dismissing it to being medication and stuff like that. Typically, what we've done before, and it's not like we kind of stopped asking them about medication and stuff like that. It's more to do with we asked if there's been other witnesses to the paranormal events as well, kind of getting a kind of a round table, and you generally get a sense, apart from the woman with the scissors, that they are compass mentors in relation to the communication and stuff like that. Because you know what, I'm on a lot of medication, and like if I was to tell a paranormal investigator the amount of pills I take a day, they're turning around and saying, "Oh my God, what do they take that for?" And they go to Google and stuff like that. But I take those pills to stay alive, and some of them are medications that's associated with mental health as well, that counteract with my anti-rejection drugs. So we're not to judge more than what we are to get a better understanding whether we think that there's a legitimate paranormal haunting there more than anything else. But.
Yeah.
Well said. Yep, absolutely.
Absolutely. True.
So, Lynda, is it your go?
Well, all of these crazy things happen when you're on investigations. There was one that actually was kind of scary, but then, again, it's scary at the time, and then 20 minutes later, you're all laughing about it. We talked about this before we went live. We had this one guy who had a video camera, and this is we're going back to 1980. And it was one of those, it was
just
one
yesterday.
of those, right. And it was one of those video cameras that was like really, and well, I mean, think about it. In the 80s, video cameras were quite large and kind of heavy. And he was going backwards and he was trying to film. And then all of a sudden we didn't see him. He just like went backwards. And I thought, oh my God, where did he go? And he fell. And that was the thing. Like nobody saw that there was like this. You know how living rooms, some of them you go up onto one stair? Well, that's what happened. He just kind of fell. And we didn't see him. Yeah, exactly. One of those big cameras. Oh my gosh. But anyway, it was insane because we were all terrified. Like, oh my God, what happened to Serge? Like, where did he go? Well, he fell backwards. But it was one of those things where, you know how when things happen, it's kind of like a Peter Sellers movie where it sounds like a little thunk, like you don't really notice. And then all of a sudden, 2 seconds later, you heard, and I thought, oh my God, he killed himself. He broke something. And then the flashlights went on and everything went on. And he was just lying there with this video camera. And I said, like, are you okay? He said, no, I guess, tabernacle. Like I fell on this stupid thing over here. And I thought, oh my God, of course you did. You fell backwards. You didn't see it. Yeah.
I'm proud that he admitted that he tripped. I would be like, oh man, a ghost just totally pushed me over.
Right? Well, he admitted, he said, boy, am I stupid, Yeah, well, you're not stupid. You just didn't see it. But, things you can't see in the dark.
Hilarious.
But it was kind of terrifying because all of a sudden you didn't see him and you heard this little thunk. And I thought, oh my God, is he dead? But no, thankfully he was fine. But again, these little things happen and they're scary at the time. And then after that, you're all laughing and saying you're stupid, but you're not. You're just human.
Yeah, it's just great. It's so funny in the moment. And a lot of these, it's a lot funnier when you're there. I mean, that's hilarious, it's like, you go through these nights and sometimes oh my gosh, these things that happen that are just unbelievably, just the timing of everything. I just thought of one that was really horrific if we have time.
Yeah, go for it.
This was during the pre-investigation. I was doing an interview and we try to keep the interviews confidential and private. So it was just me and our client who was a female. and I think I was recording it. I think because we record all of our interviews. And anyway, we were talking about the experiences that she'd been having, and she talked about that she'd been scratched on her chest.
Ooh.
And I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, was it, something you brushed up against, or, she goes, no. It's like, it looked like claw marks on my chest here. Here, let me show you. And she starts to pull her shirt down.
Hold it back.
And I was like, whoa, stop. No. Oh my gosh. I almost had to get up and leave. I was like, all right, from now I'm videoing all of my interviews too, because, oh my goodness, this was just, she was ready she wanted to prove it, and I was like,
in one way or another.
I believe you. It's totally cool. You got scratched.
It's hilarious. I've got one more before we end the show, because I apologize. When Kathy was talking, I actually burst out laughing because it jogged something that happened to me years ago. So it was about 1998, I think, and it was at that time I used to do a lot of fundraising for heritage sites over the UK to get into like castles and places like that. And I'm not sure whether it was either Hever Castle or Leeds Castle. It's one of the two. But we were doing there was like a summer fete there, that kind of thing, where there's people dressed up in period clothing and stuff like that, and they show people around and stuff like that. And at the night we did a fundraiser, public investigation for Cancer Research UK, and so we got there late. We were doing the investigation, and then it was kind of mid-flight. It was about 11 o'clock at night, and few of the guys went out the front, and I went out the front as well. It was back when I used to smoke, so we're out the front having a cigarette, and it was a typical. I don't know if you guys ever seen the movie American Werewolf in London?
I love that. One of my favorite movies. One of my favorite movies.
Where they got like they're filming on the moors and it's all smoky and stuff like that. So we were right by a lake, and it's a moat around the outside of the castle, and. So we're standing, we're having a cigarette, and I'm leaning over the bridge, and I'm looking down, and I'm trying to see whether I can see any fish. And every so often you see like an outline of fish and stuff like that. And we're smoking, and it was like dead quiet. Like it was just so quiet, it was deafening. And there was three other people with me. Then all of a sudden, the bells couldn't time this better. The bells started ringing in the town centre, and you could hear them chiming 10 o'clock, and they stopped after 10 o'clock. So the bells were going, and it was like, okay, I almost finished my cigarette, and just as we did that, just as I turned around, this apparition was walking up the side, and it was a guy dressed up in like period clothing, and he had a face like really kind of serious, and all four of us were like watching this guy and all that, and it was just like everyone's face was drawn down. It was like, oh my God, like that. And then this guy Tom, who was the manager of the site, was right by the side man. He wasn't much older than me actually. He was kind of around about the same age, and we kind of froze dead. And all of a sudden you could see it disappear into there was like this hut there, kind of thing. So he's gone, I'm gonna go and follow it. So he's gone running up there, and you could see him running. All of a sudden he disappears into the fog, and then like 2 seconds later he comes running out, and he's come running back. He goes, it was a man. He was in there having a piss. Hilarious moment. I was just like, oh my God. But you couldn't have painted a better picture with the fog and stuff. Honestly, it was just the perfect setting for a movie where the fog was, it was very like dim, and you could just see him it looked like an apparition walking along because the fog was making it look more denser than what it was. It was just a classic moment. But.
That's awesome. That's awesome. American Werewolf in London, though, best werewolf transformation ever.
Yeah,
ever.
Brilliant.
I've never seen. There was one show that I actually saw, just off topic. There was one show, I know it was on Netflix. It was with the guy, he plays the werewolf, but he's the one that plays in your mask, the It mask behind you.
Yep.
The newest one. I can't. What's his name?
Pennywise.
Yeah. Great show. Great show. But
Yeah.
yeah, best transformation ever. He did a werewolf transformation in there too.
Nice.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, well, that's a wrap. Thanks very much, guys, for tuning in this week. And we're going to be back next week with another exciting episode of the show. So stay tuned and have a great week, guys.
Bye.
Bye.